the day of the Dragon Boat Festival every year, the people of Baksan village gather in the streets as if for a grand festival. Every year on this day, the Ho family always welcomes a new bride for their eldest son, who passed away long ago. The Ho family is well known far and wide for being the richest in the region, and every wedding feast they hold is grand, with vegetarian dishes in abundance. Anyone can come and join, and when they leave, they are given silver to take with them. For the past 10 years, due to the drought and poor harvests, the villagers have come to appreciate the opportunity for a feast. Over time, it has become a village tradition. Some people even travel from far-off towns to join in, spending money without a care. In the distance, a flower palanquin is slowly approaching, and as it gets closer, the sound of drums and horns fills the air, making the whole sky seem to resonate with excitement. The bride, sitting upright on the palanquin, wears a white ceremonial gown. Her face is hidden beneath a veil, but everyone understands that anyone who is chosen to be a bride by the Ho family must be beautiful. It is a pity, though, that such beauty is fated for misfortune. Who would want to be the wife of a dead man? Here comes the palanquin. A familiar voice pulled Liễu Thi from her endless thoughts. The matchmaker for the ceremony today was none other than her own mother, who had heartlessly arranged for her to marry a dead man. Lower the palanquin. As soon as Liễu Thi was helped down, the matchmaker immediately splashed holy water on her. The pungent smell of the water was familiar to Liễu Thi. It was the water made from a young boy's urine, meant to protect the bride from any harmful spirits when she enters the wedding ceremony with the dead. Please, madam, enter the house. Liễu Thi recalled her mother's instructions from the night before and stepped forward. Standing before the threshold, she recalled her mother's warning, preparing to step through the right door. But just then, a slap rang out, striking her hard on the head. Still stunned, Liễu Thi couldn't understand why she had been hit, and she heard the harsh voice scolding her. "You unlucky fool! Who gave you permission to enter through the main door?" The slap was so strong that her veil fell to the ground. The villagers surrounding her finally got a good look at her face. A beautiful oval-shaped face with stunning phoenix eyes, and some of them couldn't help but exclaim, "My, how beautiful! Whose daughter is she? If I could marry such a beauty, I'd die happily." But Liễu Thi had no time to pay attention to the compliments. She wiped the blood from her mouth, confused and hurt, not understanding why she had been hit. "How dare you glare at me? Who said you could enter through the main door? The small door is already a blessing for you." It was then that Liễu Thi noticed the two doors in front of her. The right door was decorated with red velvet, with "High, Happiness" written in gold. In contrast, the left door was draped entirely in white fabric. "Do you see now? This door is where you belong. Mother, I'm sorry. Please forgive me." Liễu Thi lowered her head and apologized. The woman in front of her, dressed elegantly, was clearly her mother-in-law, the first wife of the Ho family. The first wife, noticing the whispers of the villagers, didn't want to cause further trouble for Liễu Thi. She just coldly said, "Once you're a daughter-in-law of the Ho family, you must follow the rules of the family. Live as a member of the Ho family, and die as a member of the Ho family. I truly have bad luck to have a daughter-in-law like you. Did any of the previous 9 brides ever behave like this? If it weren't for the palanquin already arriving, I would have had you kicked out of here with a cane." Liễu Thi didn't know what to say, so she just bowed and replied, "Yes, ma'am." She could feel her mother-in-law's eyes boring into her like daggers, but she didn't dare raise her head, only keeping her gaze lowered. At that moment, another red palanquin stopped in front of the mansion. The first wife smiled and walked over to help the bride step down, holding her hand warmly and saying, "We're all one family. Don't be so polite, Hachi." Was the journey tiring? The girl named Hachi responded, "Yes, thank you. I will listen to everything you say from now on, mother." The first wife nodded approvingly. "That's more like it. It's worth having you as my daughter-in-law. Why are you still standing there? Hurry up and go inside. Don't delay the good timing for the third son and Hachi, she scolded. It was a common practice in the folk tradition that when there are two brothers and the elder one dies without having married, the younger brother must marry for him. This is to ensure that the spirit of the deceased doesn't drag the family into the underworld. The matchmaker, Liễu Thi's mother, had mentioned that all 9 previous brides had met unfortunate fates. Some drowned in the river, others were bitten by venomous snakes. The 5th day of the 5th lunar month is known for its strong yin energy, so Liễu Thi didn't understand why they insisted on marrying her off on this particular day when the deceased son's spirit was so heavy. The first wife had once tried to find a bride for the second son, but on the wedding day the incense on the altar caught fire, and the bride coughed up blood and died. The bride's family had strong influence, causing the first wife a great deal of trouble for some time. So this time the first wife had consulted a spiritualist to ask the spirit of the deceased son. It seemed that when the spiritualist checked Liễu Thi's birth details, the deceased son approved of her. Liễu Thi bowed and continued to step forward, her foot nearing the left door. At that moment, a cold gust of wind made her shiver. It felt like stepping into another world, one that didn't belong to the living. Just as she hesitated, a voice echoed inside her head. Don't step through that door." The voice startled her, and just as she was about to pull back, her mother had already approached her from behind. To the onlookers, it appeared as though she was supporting Liễu Thi, but in fact, she was pushing her with her hands. Liễu Thi's tears welled up as she felt both pain and helplessness, not understanding why her mother was treating her like this. "Once you step through this door, you will be a member of the Ho family. Our relationship ends here. If you want to live peacefully, remember what I told you." Seeing her mother's cold expression, Liễu Thi held back her tears and whispered, "I will take my leave, mother. Please take care of your health." With those words, she reluctantly stepped inside. She knew that the path ahead was uncertain, but she had no other choice. Her mother had already made the decision, and all she could do was obey. As soon as the two brides entered, the steward lit 3 incense sticks and placed them in a bowl of white rice in the doorway, muttering something quietly that Liễu Thi couldn't catch. In no time, 2 of the incense sticks had burned down, but the last one remained intact. Liễu Thi's heart raced as she remembered that it was considered an ill omen when 2 incense sticks burned completely, and only 1 remained. At that moment, the steward called out, "The brides have entered. Please, all of you, enjoy the feast." The villagers, who had been waiting eagerly for the wedding, rushed inside like hungry wolves. Seeing some people heading toward the white door, the steward stepped forward and blocked them, smiling cryptically. "The white door is for the spirits, the red door is for the living. Don't go through the wrong door, or you might end up dining with the deceased." Though people had been warned, some greedy ones still tried to sneak through the white door to take food home, complaining, "The dead can't eat, so why not honor the living?" The steward just smiled mysteriously and entered the main hall to oversee the wedding ceremony. Into the main hall by a servant girl named Chan, who had just turned 13. Chan informed her that she would now be responsible for Liễu Thi's meals, rest, and daily needs in the manor. The matriarch of the Ho family was already seated in the center of the room. Only now did Liễu Thi have the chance to observe her closely. Despite being over 50, the matriarch looked no older than 30, with rosy skin, almond-shaped eyes that radiated cold authority, and an air of command that seemed to look down from above. "Have you woken up the young master yet, Tai?" she asked sternly. Tai, standing respectfully nearby, responded, "Madam, the young master still refuses to get up." Just as Tai finished speaking, a rustling sound came from the left side of the room. Liễu Thi glanced in the direction of the noise and noticed a large ebony bed screened with white silk curtains. As she strained to see through the veil, she caught sight of a red effigy suspended in mid-air, its sleeves waving as if beckoning her. Startled, she nearly fell backward. "Oh my, the young master's finally changing his clothes, madam," Tai exclaimed with a hint of flattery. "I've served him since he was a child, and this is the first time he's agreed to wear red on his wedding day." The matriarch seemed pleased, her tone softening. "It looks like he's taken a liking to her," she said. Seeing Liễu Thi's puzzled expression, Chan whispered to her, On his previous wedding days, the young master only ever wore white. Today is the first time he's put on red. It means he approves of you. Liễu Thi felt slightly reassured, thinking that as long as she served him well and obeyed the matriarch's rules, life in this household might not be too difficult. At least it was better than the life she had left behind with her mother, who had forced her into matchmaking rituals with the dead, particularly impoverished girls of 13 or 14 who were sold to pay off family debts as ghost brides for wealthy households. "It's time, Nam. Come and greet your bride before the auspicious hour passes." As the matriarch's words rang out, a gust of wind swept through the room, parting the curtains. The red effigy floated out, drifting erratically through the air before landing gently on Liễu Thi's left shoulder. She felt an icy breath brush against her ear, a chill so piercing it seemed to come from the depths of hell. She barely dared to breathe. "Let's begin," the matriarch ordered. The steward lit a bundle of incense sticks, the thick smoke stinging Liễu Thi's nose and making her feel faint. He then planted one incense stick in an altar, announcing loudly, "Heavenly spirits, earthly spirits, today, the 15th day of the 5th month in the year of the dog, I Din Hoi, humbly invite the ancestors and spirits to bear witness to the wedding of the eldest son of our Ho family." The steward then muttered an incantation as he planted 7 more sticks of incense into 7 urns. As he chanted, the effigy on Liễu Thi's shoulder grew colder, its presence numbing her left side. Having fasted since the previous evening, as her mother instructed, Liễu Thi was lightheaded and weak. She didn't know how much time had passed before her vision blurred and her ears began to ring. "Blood! The bride's shoulder is bleeding profusely!" Chan's scream drew everyone's attention to Liễu Thi. It was only then that she noticed the blood soaking her left shoulder. Strangely, she felt no pain. Could this be the young master's blood? "Stop!" the steward shouted, coughing up a mouthful of blood. The red effigy on Liễu Thi's shoulder fell lifelessly to the ground. "You're menstruating," the steward said, his voice trembling. Before Liễu Thi could respond, the matriarch struck her with a furious slap, cursing, "You wretched girl! Are you trying to kill my son?" Grabbing Liễu Thi's hair, the matriarch yanked it loose, causing her long, silky black locks to cascade down. "Deceiver, I warned your mother that no menstruating woman was to enter this household, and yet you dare defy me. Tie, beat her, use the whip. How dare you let my son draw poisoned blood from her body? Madame, please spare her. When I command, you obey. Who rules this house?" The whip lashed against Liễu Thi's back, each strike heavy with malice. She wept bitterly, her body racked with pain. Earlier that morning, she had asked her mother if menstruation would pose an issue. Her mother had reassured her there was nothing to worry about, urging her to simply obey her new family. Although Tai didn't dare go easy, he also avoided hitting her face. After all, she was the young master's wife, and her beauty was unparalleled. A scar would surely draw his ire. Bruised and bloodied, Liễu Thi could barely move. She was carried back to her quarters on a wooden plank. As she passed the banquet area, she noticed it was eerily empty. So much time had passed since the morning festivities. She then saw a procession of people carrying something past her. Her sharp sense of smell caught the distinct scent of decay. These were the same guests from the morning. But now, they were corpses. Liễu Thi recalled rumors about the Ho family. Anyone who entered their household, dead or alive, belonged to them. Survivors left with gold, while the dead were said to be preserved in jars of cobra venom. The venom kept the bodies from rotting and trapped the souls, which were then fed to a magical parasite. It was said this practice ensured the Ho family's wealth and prosperity for generations. Thank you all for following Liễu Thi's story up to this point. The mysteries surrounding the Ho family are just beginning to unfold, and Liễu Thi's journey is far from over. Don't forget to come back tomorrow to dive into even more thrilling and suspenseful developments. If you're enjoying the story, feel free to share your thoughts or leave a comment. Your support means the world and is the biggest motivation for me to keep writing. See you again soon.